FERC sets new rules in transmission of electricity throughout the United States. The Department of Energy has set up a process to connect low-income households with community solar projects. California sets a record for renewable energy usage in a single day. And innovations happening in the world of perovskite tandem solar cells. I'm Jay Warmke with Blue Rock Station, and this is the news in solar for the week of April 25th. The Federal Energy Regulatory Commission, FERC, has come up with some new regulations that are being propagated out there regarding transmission of electricity across the U.S. Now, some of these new rules seem fairly common sense. You kind of wonder why they haven't been in place all along. The regional authorities now must look at long-term impact of capacity and how to accommodate changing technologies within their system. They must look at not only the initial costs of adding these systems, but the long-term benefits for whatever type of generation options that they decide to select and put into the grid mix, whether they're renewable, fossil fuel. They need to be transparent and non-discriminatory in the process, and they need to figure out an equitable cost-sharing mechanism for adding capacity. Now, this gets to the heart where often if a company wants to add, let's say, a generation system to the grid, then the transmission authority may say, all right, well, you want to add capacity into our already stretched capacity. You need to pay for all of the upgrades to the system. Sort of like saying that if I want to drive a vehicle on a road that's already full, I need personally to pay for the next lane to be added to the highway system. So existing members who are already transmitting like that option. New people trying to get in don't like that option. So FERC says, okay, guys, you go figure it out. The Department of Energy has come up with a platform to try and connect low and moderate income households with community solar projects. Now, these projects, many of them have mechanisms and grants associated with the community solar to try and encourage people of low and moderate income means to utilize these systems. 21 states, in fact, and the District of Columbia have such programs in place. However, oftentimes it's expensive for the community solar projects to try and connect with the low-income households. So the Department of Energy is working with Health and Human Services to connect the two together. They're hoping that they'll connect about 5 million households by the year 2020, and they anticipate that will save about $1 billion in electric fees to these households. There are a number of new solar jobs happening, and these aren't the traditional climbing on the roofs. A lot of manufacturing is popping up. There's a new Next Tracker manufacturing facility that's being headquartered in Texas. They're anticipating about 50 jobs located there. And SMA America, which is an inverter manufacturer, a German company, is setting up their headquarters in California, anticipating about 200 jobs at that location. And speaking of California, on April 3rd, California set a record for state's energy that has come from renewable energy sources. Now, this is primarily wind and solar, but on April 3rd, 98% of all the electricity used in the state came from renewables. Now, that broke the record that was set just about 1 week earlier, where 97% of all the energy used came from renewables. They do have a goal, a statewide goal, that 100% of all of their energy will be from renewable sources by the year 2045. Which you would think, given that they're already approaching that would be pretty easy to meet. However, during April, March period, that's usually lower energy consumption, higher renewable production. So it's kind of a little bit deceiving. The trick is going to be on a hot August day that you can meet that kind of demand with renewable. And in order to do that, there's going to have to be a big emphasis on storage so that energy can be stored from renewable sources and then dispatched when it's needed. Amazon looks to be hitting its 100% renewable goal about 5 years early. They're looking at it happening in 2025. They had originally set that goal for 2030. They currently have about 310 projects around the world, projects meaning solar and wind systems out there that serve their needs. There are 37 new projects that have just been announced, and 23 of these are within the US. And in the world of solar innovation, perovskite is a technology that's showing a lot of promise. And a company known as Tandem PV, which does take perovskite solar, it integrates them with silicon solar, and you achieve what's known as a tandem solar panel. Well, they've just received a large influx of cash through a program, or they were formed in 2016 through a program from the Department of Energy called Cyclotron Road, which was a innovation and acceleration program to try and generate businesses in this industry. The goal of this project was to have 50% of all of the solar panels used throughout the world made from perovskite by the year 2050. Part of the promise of this is that these perovskite panels cost about 50% less to produce and can provide as much as 50% increased efficiency in the production of solar. There are some troubles around perovskite technology, at least at the moment. Lead issues. There is lead in these panels, and they do tend to leach out when they're out there in the environment, and they do tend to degrade relatively quickly. However, just this week, some researchers at Hong Kong City University and also the Imperial University in London announced that they have come up with a mechanism to stop the degrading of these perovskite panels. And researchers in India have found a way of making these panels without lead. So it looks like the two major problems of perovskite have just been overcome in recent weeks. And if this plays out, we may see a massive shift to perovskite panels within the solar industry. That's the news from solar for the week of April 25th. We'll see you next week.